Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Justice. Yes, I'm rocking a bonnet today. I want to keep it on today. Don't really, it hasn't been wash day yet. It's time, you know, so I just got to keep the bonnet on for this video. That's okay. But this is the makeup look I'm going to be doing in this video. If you love Bible history, if you love Bible stories, please keep watching. I plan on this being the first of many. Without further ado, let's get on to the video. Okay, so the story of Esther takes place when King Xerxes was ruling. I think there was another name for him too. I forgot how to pronounce it. It starts with an A. So this is when he was ruling, and it starts off with taking place at this party that he was having. And this wasn't just like a regular party. This was a huge party. It was basically a banquet for all of his officials and ministers, but everybody was there. And this party went on for like 6 months. So it went on for a while. So the banquet that was going on for 6 months was an exhibit to exhibit like all of his stuff, his royalties, things like that. And then he had a party that was a week long for everyone that lived in Susa. And I don't think I mentioned, this is in Persia, and Susa being the capital. So anyways, while this party is going on that the king is throwing, his queen, Queen Vashti, or Vashti, I'll just say Vashti. Queen Vashti, she's throwing her own party with women. She has her own thing going on. On the 7th day of his party, he ordered some of the eunuchs, I think it was several of his eunuchs, he ordered them to go get Queen Vashti, like go bring her to me, because he wanted to show off her beauty. He's trying to show her off basically to everybody. But Queen Vashti, she said no. She said no. She refused. She's like, I'm not coming. I'm not finna do this. I'm not doing this. And this was like a big no-no. You listen to the king, you know what I mean? The king's orders, he said come here, that means come here. So this made the king super mad. He lost his temper. He's like, how dare she? So like I said, the king is really mad at this point. And so what he does is he goes to his counselors, and he consults them. He's like, what should I do? I'm mad. This woman refused me. I'm the king. So he's seeking counsel from, I believe it was the 7 highest ranking princes of Persia and Media, I don't know how to say it. So he's seeking counsel from them, and he's basically like, what are the legal ramifications of this? Like, what do I do? What can I do? And basically what they tell him is like, she not only insulted you, but she's insulting us. We're leaders and she's not obeying, and others may follow her when they see that. The word might get around about how Queen Vashti refused the king, and it may lead others to want to do the same. And she basically disrespected you and us. They just thought women will be out of control. Things will get out of control by this. They offered to the king, they're like, if you agree, we want to have royal ruling where she can no longer be in your presence. Like, kick her out, get her out. And she has to leave. And then they wanted to give another woman her position. So they wanted to ban her, like make it a law. She has to be out of your presence, and we're gonna replace her with someone different, a different woman. So with this ruling, they wanted to make it so that every woman would have an opportunity to take Queen Vashti's place. So they said when it spread, when the news got out, any woman, regardless of her ranking, regardless of her social position, every woman would come and see if the king wanted to marry her. So the king and the princess, they agreed on this idea. They're like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. So so the rulings got sent out to everyone. But King Xerxes, like later on, he started kind of feeling bad. He started feeling a little guilty, like, oh dang, oh my gosh, that's dark. Whatever, just work with it. He kind of felt bad, like, dang, I'm getting rid of my wife. My queen's gonna be gone. This is really happening. Once Queen Vashti is kicked out, they get things going. They're getting things rolling. They're getting the ball rolling. And they start looking for women all over Susa. They're looking for a young, beautiful woman, a young virgin, to be the new queen. So he sent out all of his, each of the officials to go find a woman as such. Once they are found by an official or whoever they choose, whichever women they bring back, which it was several women, they are brought back to the king's eunuch, Haggai. He is the one who oversees the women, who will oversee the women. And then once they see Haggai, they go through different beauty treatments. They basically get prepared to meet with the king. And the girl who pleases the king the most, who the king likes the best, is who will take Queen Vashti's place. Now, back in Susa, there is a Jew named Mordecai. Mordecai was raising his cousin, and yes, cousin, because people mix this up, Hadassah, which is Esther's real name. Esther's real name is Hadassah. So people usually mix it up, that saying that Mordecai is her uncle, when he is in fact her cousin, because in the Bible you will see that they state that her father is Mordecai's uncle, which makes them cousins. Now, Esther, aka Hadassah, Esther was very beautiful. She had a beautiful face, a beautiful figure. She was just gorgeous. So back to what the king's order. It had been posted, okay? And I believe Esther did not want to go. Like she didn't want to leave. She's like, I don't really want to do that. But they wanted women. They wanted basically as many women as possible, and young virgin women in in Persia, in their area. They wanted to find the king a new queen. So Esther and a bunch of other young women, they all had went over to the palace. They were all getting ready. They all were meeting with Haggai, and it was several women that went. Esther, she was going by this name, and she was not telling her background that she was a Jew, because Mordecai told her not to. Mordecai knew that it was best for her to keep her identity a secret, to just pretend that she was Persian. While this is going on, every day Mordecai's keeping tabs on Esther, just checking on her like a good cousin, like a good guardian. He's just checking up on her and just getting news of what's going on, how things are going in the harem, how Esther's doing, things like that. So the prescribed beauty treatments that took place with Haggai and just preparing women, that took 12 months of treatments. It's a long time. It's a long time to be getting ready. Okay, I'm gonna look at my Bible just so I can make sure I get this right. So they had 12 months of prescribed beauty treatments, 6 months treatment with oil of myrrh. Yeah, of myrrh, followed by 6 months with perfumes and various cosmetics. So that is a lot to get ready to see the king. And when the women would leave the harem, for the king's quarters, they would go, I believe they would go one night, and then in the morning return to the second harem. But they would not return to the king unless the king had a liking to them, unless he wanted them to come back. So now it's Esther's turn. Esther, when she went, the king was just blown away by her beauty. She had so much admiration from him. Like, he was like, wow, this woman is beautiful. He's like, wow. She blew him away with not only her looks, but just her presence, just her. You know, people were just in admiration or adoration of her, just like everyone, a lot of people. It wasn't even just the king, it was people that were around her. She just drew them in. She just was beautiful. So with that being said, the king, he fell in love with her more than any of the other women that he encountered. Okay, so now that Esther is chosen by the king, he was very happy and he wanted to throw a banquet. So they celebrated. He handed out gifts. He was just happy. He found his beautiful queen. Esther's true identity, that she's a Jew, it was still unknown at this point. But around this time, her cousin Mordecai, you know, he was still hanging around outside the palace, and he just happened to hear two guards that were plotting, scheming to kill King Xerxes. And Mordecai's like, huh? Like, what'd you say? I hear you. You're plotting, you're scheming. So he tells Esther, okay? And Esther goes and tells the king, and she gives credit to Mordecai. Now, what the king does is he gets these two guards hanged, dead. Yeah. Before they were hanged, they obviously investigated and made sure first. But they found out he was telling the truth, they were scheming, and they were put to death. So Mordecai was, what he did for the king, it was written in the logbook. It was kept so they could remember what he did, the noble thing that he did. A little later, the king promoted a man named Haman. He made him the highest ranking official in the government. Now, Haman had a thing where he wanted people to bow down to him. He's like, kneel down. And Mordecai was like, I'm not doing that. I'm a Jew. I have one God. I'm not kneeling down to you. So some men had told Haman about this. Like, this man Mordecai, he's not going to bow down to you. So Haman sees Mordecai. He goes to him and he's like, kneel before me. Like, do you know who I am? Do you know my position? You need to kneel before me. And Mordecai's like, I'm a Jew. I'm not doing that. No. When Haman saw this for himself, that he wasn't doing it, it made him mad. It made him furious. He's like, and when he found out that he was a Jew, Haman did not like Jews altogether after that. He's like, he felt disrespected. He just did not like it. So he took it to the king. He went to the king about it. He proposed to the king, like, he not only wanted to get rid of Haman. I mean, not Haman. Not Haman wanted to get rid of Mordecai and all the Jews all together. He was mad. He's like, they all gotta go. He goes to the king and he tells him, there's a group of people that just don't fit in here. They don't fit in. They're not good people. They need to go. And the king, he's like, he gave him this ring, basically saying that Haman could pass laws, and he's like, do what you want, do what you feel is like you should. Haman he wanted to pay to get this law passed to get rid of the Jews. And the king's basically like, it's your money, you do what you want to do with it. The orders were written out word for word. So all of the bulletins were sent out, to get this thing posted, that the Jews were to be massacred, to be killed on the 13th day of the month of Adar. So the 13th day of the 12th month. So when this was posted, you can imagine all of the Jews are devastated. They're upset. They're going crazy. They're going crazy. So after this, which would be upsetting, because that's crazy. After this, Esther hears a little bit about the news, and she tells one of her eunuchs to go out to Mordecai to get the whole story of what's going on, what's happening, just to get Mordecai's input on it. So Mordecai tells him, he gives him the scoop. He tells him what to report back to Esther. He gives him a copy of the bulletin and everything. So then he tells Esther to go to the king and plead with him for her people. Now this was a big thing, because you don't just go to the king unannounced without him asking. You can't just walk up to the king and ask him a question or talk to him, whatever. He has to summon you. And I think it was said to be that it can be punishable by death. It's a serious thing. The only thing that would make it so that you wouldn't get punished for approaching the king without being summoned is if he extended his gold scepter to you. But during this time, she hadn't been summoned by the king for 30 days. So she's like, what do I do? But Mordecai tells Esther, don't think just because you're in the king's palace that you're the one Jew who won't get killed. You still can get killed because you're a Jew. But he's pleading with her, don't stay silent. Please save your people, help your people, help deliver us, or else we all will be wiped out. He's like, who knows, maybe you were made to be queen for this very thing, for such a time as this. So Esther sends a message back to Mordecai, and she tells him to gather all the Jews in Susa, and for them to fast for 3 days and 3 nights. No food, no water. She's like, I'll fast as well with you guys, and so will my maids. And after the 3 days, I'll go to the king. And if I die, then I die. Well, Mordecai did just that very thing. So 3 days pass. Esther goes and gets dressed, and she gets ready to approach the king. So Esther gets ready to go in front of the king to approach the king. So he sees her, and he's actually happy to see her, and he extends his gold scepter, and he's like, what is it that you need, my queen? She tells him that she wants to have a dinner with Haman, a feast, and she wants to get together with Haman and the king. So the king's like, go get Haman and bring him, because Esther's like, I prepared a dinner for him, blah blah blah, and then I will tell you what it is I want from you. And once they do that, he's like, okay, what is it that you want? And she's like, okay, here it is what I want. If the king pleases, eat with me again tomorrow, both you and Haman, and I will give you a straight answer. I'll tell you exactly what it is that I want. So Haman left the dinner all happy. He's like excited. He feels like he just got celebrated. He just got to eat with the king and queen. Like, he's happy. He's on top of the world. So that night, the king had trouble sleeping, and he ordered for the logbook with everything in it to be brought to him. And he came across what Mordecai did for him. He's like, oh yeah, like, this guy saved my life. And he asks, he's like, okay, what was given to Mordecai for this? And they're like, nothing. Nothing was given to him. So the king tells Haman to come in there because he's out in the court, and he's like asking him, what would be an appropriate honor to, or appropriate reward to honor a man? And Haman, in his head, he's thinking it's about him. He's like, oh, he must be talking about me. So let me hype this up real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna read what he said, just so I can get it right. He said, for the man the king delights to honor, do this: bring a royal robe that the king has worn, and a horse the king has ridden, one with a royal crown on its head. Then give the robe and the horse to one of the king's most noble princes. Have him robe the man whom the king especially wants to honor. Have the prince lead him on horseback through the city square, proclaiming before him, this is what is done for the man who the king especially wants to honor. And the king's like, okay. He's like, go and do it. See, and little did Haman know, this is for Mordecai. It's not for you, honey. He's like, go do it and don't leave a single thing out that you just said. So mind you, Haman hates Mordecai. He does not like him. He sent out this law to kill all the Jews. He can't stand Mordecai. And then now he's the one who has to robe Mordecai, and he's the one who has to give this reward to him. See how things come full circle? See how God is a just God? And Esther does not mention God at all in the story, but you can see God's fingerprints all over it. So after this, the king, Haman, and Esther go to dinner the next day, like she asked. So the king's like, he's like, okay, like, Esther, can you tell me now, what is it that you want? Like, what is it that you want to tell me? What is it that you want to ask me? She's like, my king, if I've found favor in your eyes, if you favor me, like, grant me this. And he's like, oh, anything, like, he's smitten for her. That's his queen. She asks him, she's like, give me my life and other people's lives. Save my people. And she reveals to him the truth. And she's like, this man Haman has come across my people. And he's like, who? Who's coming across my queen? Who's trying to kill my queen? And she tells him the truth, that I'm a Jew and Haman has set out this law to kill my people. And that includes me, so that means I would die too. And Haman hearing this, he's terrified. He's like, what the heck? I did not know that you were a Jew. I had no idea. Like, he's telling the king, like, I would never do that to your queen. The heck? He's like blindsided. But she's basically telling him, like, this man has done this and set this law against my people, and that includes me. And I need you to abolish this law. I need you to make it go away. Save my people, save me. Now, this made the king angry. He's mad. He's like, what the heck? How dare you? What is going on? He's mad. At this point, the king is like mad at Haman. He's like, he's done with him. He is furious. He's like, I don't trust this guy. I'm done with him. And Haman actually built this big thing for Mordecai to be hung on. And that actually ends up being how the king orders for Haman to get killed. So once again, it's something that was set out for Mordecai, but it ends up being Haman is reaping it. So Haman was hanged for that, for what he did. He was hanged on the very thing that he built for Mordecai. So then that ring that was Haman's, that the king had given to him, that signet ring that made him able to be in charge of laws and things like that, he actually gave it to Mordecai, and the Jews and Esther were given the estate that Haman had. So after this, Esther fell again at the king's feet. She was begging him to revoke what Haman had did, because this law is still there. She's like, I can't watch all of these people be wiped out. It's horrible, and please stop this. So he tells them, I've given you guys this thing. I've had Haman put to death. So write whatever law and put it to pass. So I believe that they couldn't just take the law away. So they had to come up with another law that would counteract that one somehow. The one that was put out for all of them to be killed. So he tells them to do this and seal it with that ring. So the law that they wrote, or the order that they put out, was that all of the Jews were to be armed with weapons so that they could defend themselves, and that they were to kill anyone who threatened them or threatened their lives on that day, that 13th day of the 12th month. So this was posted everywhere so that the Jews would be prepared for when they were going to be attacked on that day. So the Jews prepared themselves. Mordecai's reputation grew, so some people were even fearful of Mordecai at this point, because he was very powerful in the palace. But when the day came, the Jews killed several people defending themselves. They even killed Haman's 10 sons. The king got this report back of everyone that got killed, and he asked Esther, what else do you want? Name it, and you have it. And she asked if Haman's sons would be hung for everyone to see, and she asked that the order be extended. On the 14th day of the 12th month, the Jews went at it again, and they killed another 300 people. And I think the first time they killed 500. Yeah, it was 500. Mind you, with all of these killings, the Jews are defending themselves, and they are organizing themselves, and they're freeing themselves from oppression. And the next day, they took it easy and celebrated with a bunch of food and laughter, and they made the 15th their holiday. So then Mordecai sent out letters to all of the Jews, to everyone, as a reminder of the 14th to 15th day to remember what happened, just so they can have annual celebration. So that is what happened in the book of Esther. I love this story. I love it so much. I love Esther's bravery, because she loved her people and knew what she had to do. So she risked her life. She knew she could have died by going in front of the king, but she took that risk. And it shows how they depended on God by fasting for 3 days. And she trusted God by going in front of him. She's like, you know what, if I die, then I die, but I have to do what I got to do so my people can be delivered, so that they can live. And God took care of everything, and his fingerprints were all over it, even though he wasn't mentioned. All the things how God is a God of justice. He is a just God. And things came back to Haman that he did wrongly, and things like that. It's an incredible story, and I encourage you to read it for yourself as well. I just kind of did a summary and a telling of everything as much as I could. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you loved it. Please look forward to the next video. I hope to see you soon. Love you. God bless you. Bye.